we'll go over two more of the accusations. The substance abuse. They when they first said it and they made the announcement, they said relapse into substance abuse. And obviously, knowing that you have a past, because you're very open and transparent with that, I think a lot of people assume the worst. You put out a drug test of any like illegal narcotics, basically marijuana, cocaine, heroin, all that kind of stuff. It came out later with you admitting. It came out later with you admitting to steroids and diet pills. They had mentioned,
both of which I have prescription for.
Right, and PJ was saying that you were using a 30-day prescription in like a 5-day period as well, though.
Who said that?
You weren't TJ. You said that in that interview.
Not
TJ.
You said
AJ. I didn't mean to. If I said there's so many blank J's that company. It's incredible how many of you guys there were.
I know.
Anyways,
well, look, here's what I'll say on this. Everyone understands what the accusation is when a drug addict gets accused of a relapse. Everyone understands what that means. And this is something that now you have media organizations out there and social media accounts that have now ran with the fact that I've relapsed. And now they're talking about cocaine. Of course, the story was when I got arrested, it was Ben was high on cocaine and he was out there trying to kill somebody and blah, 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 blah. And that's a direct result of the defamation and slander that's been used against me with the word relapse. Okay.
So you
when
weren't
a
on
meth
cocaine
relapses, everyone understands what that means. That means they're doing hard drugs again. And the comment that was made on the Altcoin Daily interview that I thought was very interesting was that, first of all, of course, they try to discount the drug test, but they did that secondly. The first thing they tried to do is say
the validity of it. The validity of the drug test is what they tried to dismiss.
Well, that was the second. That was the second part. The first thing that was said is that, well, the drugs on the drug test weren't the ones in question. It was like a 14-panel test, I think, a 10 or 14 panel. It covers about every drug that's out there. Because when they said relapse, everyone knows that means hard drugs. It doesn't mean a couple prescriptions that I was taking that people knew that I was taking and it was not hidden and it was not a secret thing, right? The implication is that I'm hiding and doing all these drugs. And I know actually, there have actually been many phone calls that have gone out from that building from people involved in this to other influencers, people who I've known, family members, trying to find a drug that I've done. There was a campaign to try to find, did you see him doing drugs? Have you seen him doing drugs? And I think maybe at the beginning of this, maybe they believed that they could find something. They believed that maybe I was doing drugs and they could just expose it. And it's just 100% false. It's something that has been
my
used
mind,
against
though,
me.
If you were, as many times I've hung out with you, like at outside events, I've been with you at bars, clubs, you never drink alcohol. So, I mean, I would think that if you were doing some sort of substance, you probably would have slipped into drinking or something like that. And being that drinking is the legal lesser of evils, even though it's the worst on your body. But yeah,
of course. I've always said alcohol is the worst drug, but it's the only one I ever did when I was younger that I couldn't remember what I did the next day. But I got plenty of experience with drugs when I was younger. I mean, a lot of people know that. A lot of people know I went through.
So you weren't using cocaine though?
Absolutely not. I'm not touched.
What about the Xanax and Adderall that they were saying that you were asking employees about?
Look, I think that when it comes to this, it's just very important for me to say this. I have not relapsed. There has not been substance abuse. This is all 100% false. And once again, by me going down to every single claim that they've made and trying to say, no, I have not done this. No, I have not done this. All that does is give it more credibility. And I refuse to give credibility to a false allegation that's been proven false already. And notice that was the focus, guys. When this was all levied against me, and this was I know the conversation that was given to the employees, it was, guys, Ben has relapsed and we're here for him and we need to help him. So what we need to do is we need to figure out every single bad thing he's ever done. So please tell us. Like, that's basically was the conversation. And so I think that giving credibility to this, to the word relapse, because it's very important to understand the word relapse, what that means. It means I'm using hard drugs and I'm out of control and I need help. And all of that is false. It was all set up to try to force me into rehab so I would get out of the building for 2 or 3 months so they could go behind my back and steal the company. Then every piece along this way has been about putting me in a position to where I can't fight. And it's been as lackadaisical as like just making random accusations up. It's been as real as giving me death threats and telling me that I was going to get killed for a missing $3.2 million from the books, apparently, according to some people, according to what I was told I was going to be killed over. I was told that if I didn't give Carlos $3.2 million, that he was going to put me under the concrete. And I have the call where he says that, but I'm not going to release that because there's no point in me releasing anything going forward because it just gives them credibility. There's no credibility in any of this. And it's one of these things where it's pointless for us to sit here and go over every allegation, because when you understand from the beginning that this was a setup and a conspiracy, then you understand that anything that we say that tries to give it validity, it only hurts me, because none of it is true. And anything that might have any shimmer of truth to it is twisted and contorted for optics and smoke and mirrors to make me look bad and make them look good. But you can tell that people aren't buying into this. How can you tell? Go look at the numbers on the channels.
Right. No, I feel you on that. And I get what you're saying, man. I just, unfortunately, doing this interview, as I was telling you, I have to ask you specific questions.
I'm not upset with you. I know what people want to know. I know people want the gossip. That's what people want. But
it's just like when I interviewed Brock Pierce.
What's that?
When I interviewed Brock Pierce, he said to me, I have successfully asked him every bad question somebody can ask him. And that's the only way I can effectively do a good interview.
I understand.
You know,
I get it. And for me, now having to because trust me, guys, trust me, I want to say everything. I want to talk about everything that I know. And I want to break down every single one of these accusations and tell you why they're not false. Because I am an innocent man who has been tarred and feathered, and I want to show everybody why. But I'm in a position of power now, because now I know all of this is going to come out. This is going to court, and it's all going to come out. And it's going to come down to people choosing to finally buckle down and tell the truth, finally deciding that they're going to shut up and not say anything because everything that they say will work against them, or lie under oath. That's the only choice that these people have on the other side.
Okay. Is there any credibility to the allegations and accusations of physical and sexual assault? Because I was told that one of the individuals and it's not Nick Diamante, but the other individual that is filing for sexual assault,
right?
Is another male.
They're all males.
Apparently, it was so bad that he's in therapy. I'm not making a joke of it. I'm not making a joke of it.
I am. That is a joke.
TJ's saying that in the interview with Altcoin Daily, this is a subject that's being overlooked and glanced over.
Of course it is, because this.
Do you like boys?
I'm glad you asked that question because on Altcoin Daily interview, of course, they asked, Austin asked, are you making the allegation that Ben is gay? And of course, TJ said,
Ben Gay Crypto. That could be a new crypto channel name.
They said, you would have to ask him. Guys, I should not have to answer this question. There is not a person on the freaking planet that thinks that I'm gay. There's not a person on the planet that thinks that. There's nothing to back that up. And once again, look at what all this is over, right?
Well, I wouldn't 100% say it has to be gay though. Did you sexually harass anyone?
No,
did you call them any derogatory terms, anything like that? Hit anybody's testicles?
Go watch the intro. Go watch the intro to Blockchain Basement. In the intro to Blockchain Basement, Nick Diamante says, well, if you're gonna screw me, make sure to pull my hair first. And then TJ says, hell yeah. Guys, the entire environment at Hit Network is a locker room environment. Justin Williams, Nicholas Diamante, TJ Shed, and everyone involved over there, and every person that works there will tell you, and there are people that work there that no longer work there that will tell you, it was a locker room environment at that place. And so is there ever been a joke by anyone there that said, go watch the intro to Blockchain Basement, guys. Go watch the way that me and Frank interact on the channel. People understand the innuendos. TJ is heavily guilty of innuendos that are of a sexual nature. And what I will tell you is this, once again, I am absolutely not going to go down allegations of sexual assault and explain what happened or why something happened or it didn't happen. It's mental to think that I would even have to defend that.
That is a separate issue, though. It has nothing to do with the Hit Network stuff, and it's it happened.
What do you mean? It all has to do with it. It all has to do with it because people.
Is it but is it a situation that's going into court together with all of this kind of lumped together?
It's for the lawsuit. That's
Okay.
all that it is. It's for the lawsuit, because in the lawsuit, they make allegations that are general and vague. And so they feel like they've got to put stuff out to back it up. Everything that's being done, guys, is smoke and mirrors for the lawsuit. And I think that, once again, there are people that are going to have to be in counseling in that building over their complicitness or their complicity in this scheme when they realize what they've actually been covering up for someone else. There's something that's being covered up, and the people in the building are not aware of it. They don't know what it is, and I do. And they know now
And
that I know
are
what
you
it
at
is.
liberty to speak about that?
Absolutely not. I will not say a word
Okay.
about it. All I will know is
Okay.
the people that know what they've done, they know what they've done.
So TJ mentioned the reason that they were able to remove you, fire you, however they want to put it, was because of a clause in the operating agreement, and this was done based off council recommendation. And the council came in, questioned employees, and a bunch of statements started coming out. And it was advised to enact this clause, which stated roughly, and there's a long, detailed verbiage, but the gist of it is, if a member is causing material damage and harm to the company, the remaining members can vote to expel that member and buy back their shares or dissolve. And they wanted to do a 60-month buyback. What are your thoughts on that whole enactment of that clause in the operating agreement?
It's a joke. He was fired. Guys, I told TJ we were separated first. It's very obvious. It's very clear what happened. Counsel was brought in after the plan was enacted to overthrow me, after TJ, Justin, and Tim were all fired. Now, the structure of Vumio doesn't allow me supposedly to be able to fire Justin. And that's why I asked him to move the building, because I certainly could evict Justin and move Vumio somewhere else. And I think that it's just one of these things where it's obvious it was a coup. It was, guys, I don't use the word coup d'etat in lightly. Guys, he was fired. He admitted on a phone call he was fired, admitted also that he did not want to be fired. And that's why he did what he did. This is very cut and dry. There was no thoughts of this clause brought up before TJ was fired. It was only after he was fired that he then went to counsel and found someone who I guess would agree that he could enact this clause. But see, his counsel doesn't understand that he was fired first. There's no way he could possibly know that, because if he knew that, then that means the clause is 100% invalid. And so, it's very obvious what's occurred here. And you can't, it's like this. I fired him. There were people in the building that were terrified of what would happen when they were removed, and I had to bring in a new CFO to look at the books. Okay. That's what the fear was from the very beginning. This was the fear that someone would come in and look at the books. Why? Well, I have no idea why. I was told that I was lied to, and I was told that my wife owned 33% of the company, which is not true. That's a lie. The operating agreement doesn't say anything about that, and yet that's what was told to me in the beginning. There was a time that we looked at my wife owning 33% of the overall company assets in a trust, but not actually on the operating agreement or actually having real ownership. It was just in a way that was supposed to protect me, but we never went through with it. It never actually happened. But I was told that the 33% owned by my wife meant that if my wife wanted to get divorced from me, this was the first conversation where things went sideways. I was told that remember, this is a bold-faced lie. If my wife owned 33% and she decides to get a divorce lawyer involved, and a divorce lawyer comes in and looks at the books of all of the companies involved, that they're going to find that supposedly there's a bunch of taxes owed, which I still haven't seen or have proof of. But I've been told there was a bunch of taxes owed. And so my wife decided to come in and liquidate her 33%, that we would have to close down the business. And that was the fear that was put in my head. And that was why I was told that people couldn't look at the books. And my thing is, if you've done the books correctly, then why would you be concerned about somebody coming in and checking the financials? I'm not scared of somebody coming and checking in the financials. Somebody please go check them. Like, I'm all for people checking the financials. I'm actually like, that's what I want more than anything, is for someone to go in there and look at the books.
And to be fair, though, to be fair, that's what they're saying too, because they're even claiming Yeah, yes, like looking at the books, going through, because that was part of what the criminal investigation was them going through the books. When you had that phone call with the mediator
That's
that
false. That's
you
false.
released.
Oh, that's false. Oh, that's false.
Well, that's what they're insinuating, though. That they're
Of course,
insinuating
that's
that
what they're
they're
insinuating
doing a
because
forensic audit of the accounting as well.
right, an internal company-led audit of the books. Like that's what it is. I've got pieces of another conversation that basically state that, oh no, it's an internal investigation that we're doing on the books. There's this optics that everything's open when it's not. There was also the insinuation that an appraisal is taking place and I'm holding it up. What? I'm not even allowed in the building. I'm not even allowed to talk to anybody. How am I holding up an appraisal? There's been no attempt to go to my lawyer and get an appraisal and to agree on an appraisal for a buyout. It's smoke and mirrors. There's not one conversation. In fact, their counsel is being extremely difficult. Won't even respond to my lawyer or give anything. I mean, I think there's been some interaction, but only because we reached out and there's been nothing. There's this idea that, oh, we're just willing to work with him and we're working with him the whole time. 100% false. What's the buyout number? What's the appraisal of the business? Where's it at? None of this information has been shared. And it's a nonstop campaign to make it look like I'm stopping some kind of process that I can't even take part in because I'm not in the building and they're not having conversations with us. I'm very adamant that there will be a forensic auditor walking in that building that is selected. I don't know the exact way that it works legally. I believe that one party has to select it and the other one's got to approve it, kind of almost like you would choose a jury. But that's the situation. So no, there has been, if it is, then publish the findings from the forensic auditor. You know, let's see what it all looks like. There's an internal investigation that was a witch hunt to try to find something that I've done when I haven't done anything to make it look like I've been doing, I've participated in wrongdoing. And I think there's been a lot of disappointment that they couldn't find anything real that I've actually done. And there's a reason for that, because I haven't actually done anything they're accusing me of. Because think about this, guys. If I had, the last thing in the world I would want is for an auditor to go in and look at those books.
That or you're crazy and you're stupid. That was what people would say.
Of course, right? But when you look at the truth, and the truth is I'm the one calling for it and they're the ones that are hiding it, then you see what's going on here. Like, guys, why do you think I've been publicly calling on the FBI? Why do you think? Why do you think I've had conversations to potentially talk to the FBI about this? Whether I have or have not at this point, I'm not at liberty to say. What I would tell you is it would be insane for a man who lost his business, who has a new business that's thriving already. We have sponsors lined up. Like, my business is fine. I'm going to be okay. Like, it's been a process and I'm still waiting on, like, I'm still dealing with some bank stuff, getting money in banks and to where I can actually use my money functionally outside of crypto. Right. But and there's been a lot of things that have been done to try to stop me from doing that. But I have nothing to hide. It's never been clearer, guys, that I had nothing to do with financial controls in that business. There has been things going on financially that I've never one time in the history of my company, since TJ was brought on board as my business partner, and a Bank of America account, Bank of America account was opened by Tim Shed and TJ Shed. I've never seen one of those bank accounts one time. I've also never seen the offshore bank account in the British Virgin Islands. Never seen it. I have no idea what these accounts look like. And so I don't have any financial controls over the business. I never had. How do you think they could lock me out of everything if I had a clue? That's why I had to go to my CPA to find the operating agreement, because they wouldn't give me the operating agreement. They shut me out. What? If you're in such a strong position, why do you shut someone out of the business documents? It should be pretty cut and dry, right? But I've never had one document under request that was given to me. It's all been one of these things where I've been asking for stuff and I've had to find these things. I've had to find workarounds to get a hold of all this, because once again, you go back to the very beginning of this, the confusion. It's all about the confusion, causing confusion for me, causing confusion for the audience, causing confusion for the employees. And going forward, now my eyes, the veil has been lifted from my eyes. And I'm really looking forward to the veil being lifted on the eyes of all the people involved. But at this point, some of these people are involved, but some of the people that work there, they're just dug in so deep. They don't really have a spot where they can spin out of what they've said. They just have to hope and cross their fingers. And they believe that they're on the right side. They do believe it. I know this. There are people there that really believe they're doing the right thing. And I got to say, when this is all over, like I said, when they understand what they've been helping to cover up unknowingly, that there are going to be a lot of people that are going to need therapy and need counseling to understand what pawns they've been played.
Well, I mean, ultimately, Ben, when it comes down to one side is lying, it's, which
For
side
sure.
is it?
Absolutely.
Because I mean, there's no other way around it. There's no other line. It's just a line in the sand of lying or
of
not.
Of course. And when you look at me and my history and you look at the fact that I was a drug addict and 15 years ago, I had to go to rehab. It makes it a lot easier to kind of tell this narrative that, oh, he's the one, and to point at me and say, he did all these. Look, guys, he's got a history. He's got a past, and now he's back in it. So now you can't trust anything he says. And so, that's been the story that's been painted from day one. And it's a story that's been unequivocally false from day one.